All right, today we're going to talk about swapping heads, one of the most fun Photoshop tricks there is. I use it more often than you would think, and I don't even tell my clients that I've done it, especially when I've got babies or toddlers. I do a lot of not just head swapping, but what's even easier is eye swapping. If someone's blinking, things like that. So open up the two images provided for you. Remember, if you want to see them side by side, you go to Arrange, Float All in Windows, and we have this image where the baby's not looking and this image where the mom is not looking, and we want to make a picture where we have everybody looking and smiling. So I have your head swapping instructions open on the screen. So I just want to make sure I do this in the right order. So we are going to put family portrait number 2 on top of family portrait number 1. So we're going to grab it with the move tool up here. We're going to put it on top of this picture. I'm actually going to just get rid of that other one so I can see there my images are overlapping, right? So make sure that you have your layers window open. And you can see that with a little eyeball, if I take off the top layer, it just shows the picture that's underneath. So up here have this top layer selected. See how you can select each layer. We're going to have the top one highlighted, and we're going to change the opacity down to like maybe 50% or so. And we're going to try to line up the mom's faces. Now this is a little tricky. We're using the move tool, so you should have this selected. Always make sure that this box is chosen so that you have the handles to drag and rotate your image. And we're going to drag her face so we can kind of line it up. I'm going to zoom in a little bit by doing Control and the plus key so I can see it a little bit closer. And I'm going to try to get this mom's face lined up. Okay, so maybe I want to make it a little smaller. You can see in one picture her head's much bigger. So we already know we have to kind of enlarge this face. And I'm trying to line up her mouth and her nose and her eyes and her ears. And not only do I need to make this top one bigger, but we can see she kind of, moved her head to the side. So if you go outside of this corner, we can now rotate her. So let's rotate her and resize her and do the very best job we can of lining up like her mouth, her eyes, her nose, her ears. That's actually not too bad. Still could go a little maybe bigger on her face there. Kind of have to play around with it till you can get it looking really similar. Now it's obviously not going to be perfect, but let's get it as good as we can get it. And then when we like it, we're going to hit enter to lock it in. And then we're going to slide this back up to 100% opacity. All right, now we're going to make a layer mask on this layer by clicking the layer mask icon down here. We're going to click on the little white box, and if you press on your keyboard Control-I, it'll change it to the black. And now we need a brush. So over here on the toolbar, we have a brush right here. And we're also going to make sure that this has white on top. Now I think I can erase back her face. Okay, so I'm erasing back her face, and it's kind of, I'm just going to do real quick so you can see. Actually, it already looks better, but you can tell I've messed up like so many parts. So let me undo that. Make sure that your brush up here, if it was all the way, the hardness was all the way turned up, look what it would look like. It'd be very choppy, very harsh. We don't want that. We want it to be a soft brush. So let's bring back our hardness to something smaller. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit again. And I'm probably going to want to use a smaller brush and just kind of go through and erase the top layer, and it's showing her bottom layer. You'll notice the lighting on these are also, when you're erasing with the brush, make sure the opacity is turned up to 100. I forgot to say that. All right, so you'll notice she's like a lot brighter in this bottom image, right? The coloring's not the same, but let me get as good as I can here, and I'll go back and fix the coloring later. It's not lining up real great down here. If you make a mistake, you can do Control Z, right? Or you can go to your histories window, or if you reverse the colors of this, it'll go back to the top picture. So that'll paint back on the top one. which I might want to do down here in her neck area. Now, it is worth saying that it's not always going to be perfect. That's why you should take so many pictures of the same subject, so that if you have two that are back to back and someone looked down, they're going to be similar lighting and similar everything. All right, I can also see, you know, what it looks like underneath, how I'm doing here. I don't like any of this over here, so I'm going to clean it up a little more, the best I can, try to make it look believable. That was a little too far into her face. All right, not too bad, right? Not too bad. Oh, I didn't want to do that. All right, when I think I've got something pretty good, and again, I like to click back and forth on this to see if there's anything I kind of missed, but it's not bad. All right, I'm gonna go to layer, and I'm gonna go flatten image. All right, here's what I have. It's not too bad. Actually, before I even flatten the image, I'm gonna unflatten it. Let's clean up above her head. I wasn't even looking at that. Make sure that oh goodness. It's a slippery slope, you guys, very tricky. Let's just see what I can clean up here without getting into her head. See how her hair is showing up? We don't want that. So do the best you can there. And then before I flatten it, I wanted to just change the brightness of her face, since it's so bright, because once I flatten it, it will be changing the brightness on the entire image. So I'm going to go do image, adjustments. I can do brightness and contrast if you want to do it that way. There's all different ways you can do it, but you could just bring down the brightness. I would play with the levels, even though we haven't really talked about it. See how, why not? Oh, maybe I have to not be on that, but be on this? No. Uh-oh, what did I do? Okay. I think I'm gonna layer. I'm gonna flatten it. I'm not starting this video over though, because I don't have time. So instead, I think I'll just use the lasso tool, which is right here. Make a quick lasso around the parts that I erased back. Right click. Feather means like how soft the outline is, and make it real big, like 30. And now it's only going to change what's inside that lasso. So now here are my levels. I would take that middle and see how you can go back and forth to see extremes. I would darken it up a little bit maybe. And if I think she looks too red, because the coloring was also off, I can go to adjustments and color balance and make her a little less red. Kind of try to match her up with, you know, everybody else in the picture. But you can play around with that. And then to deselect, you would push Control D. All right, so it's looking better already, but there are a few things I need to clean up. And since you've already learned about the clone stamp, that's what I would use to just, up here, the trees don't really match up. So I'm going to go to the clone stamp, select some of that tree, fill it in. Here, this should be a little more open space. You can see her hair is showing through. We don't like that. We want to get, I probably should use a smaller clone stamp so I can get really close and get that tree. So, whoops, so it doesn't look like it's fake here. Remember, we're striving for believable images. Everything looks like it lines up okay until I get to maybe like right in here. Some of her face is showing from the other photo. So I'm going to use the clone stamp. I'm going to get rid of this skin tone right here. Make it a little smaller, duck in here, get this. Maybe her chin right here is not so great, the way that it's kind of doesn't match up. Ooh, too light. Anyways, it's a lot of you know, trial and error and undoing and redoing to get it to look real. You can always just back out. I feel like this could be a little better too right here, but you know, I can get really, really picky, or I can end the video and show you guys. I still feel like the lady's a little too bright, but anyway, you can play around with it. But now we have a smiling mama with the dad and the child. All right, thanks for watching. Good luck.